$14.50. That's not what you managed to save. That's your entire checking account balance. You check it on a Tuesday at 11:42 p.m. You're sitting on a mattress you bought off Facebook Marketplace. You pull down to refresh the app. The number doesn't change. You've got $3,000 in credit card debt, an electric bill on final notice, and a direct deposit hitting on Friday that's already spent before it even arrives. Age doesn't matter here. You could be 23, 30, or 45. The only thing that matters is that number. At the grocery store, you aren't just shopping, you're doing complex math. You put the name brand coffee back, you buy the store brand, you split a Netflix password with an ex-roommate, because canceling it feels like admitting total defeat. This is what financial zero actually feels like. There's no cinematic soundtrack, just the quiet, constant hum of anxiety running in the background of everything you do. You don't talk about money. Nobody at this level does. But everyone is doing the exact same math. Here, money isn't a tool. Money is oxygen, and you're suffocating. The first rule of level zero: your relationship with money is entirely emotional, and emotional decisions always compound in the wrong direction. But one day, something snaps. You decide you're done living like this. You pick up a side hustle. You start saving. You cross into the next level. You land a solid job. You're making $75,000 a year now. On paper, you're middle class. In reality, you've just stepped into the most dangerous trap in the American system. You move into a nicer apartment. Rent is $2,000 a month. The building has a gym you'll use exactly 3 times. You finance a car at 8% IPRA because the dealer told you the monthly payment fit your budget. Your life looks like a success story. Your Instagram looks like a success story, but the math doesn't lie. You're making more, but your expenses expanded to swallow every extra dime. This is lifestyle creep, and it kills you silently. A new iPhone, Friday night food delivery, another subscription. The gap between your income and your spending is essentially zero. Salary is just a ceiling disguised as a floor. Then your car breaks down. It's a $1,200 repair. You don't have the cash, so you swipe a credit card with a 24% interest rate. In that exact moment, you realize the cold truth. You aren't wealthier. You're just a more expensive slave to the system. You're still living paycheck to paycheck, just in nicer clothes. You look at the numbers and realize, if you don't change the game, you'll be doing this until you're 70. You stop buying things. You start buying assets. You max out your Roth IRA. You get the 401k company match. You put your first $500 into an S&P 500 index fund. The next day, the market tanks. Your gut tells you to sell, but you hold. That's the moment you decide. Either fear runs you, or you run the fear. Fast forward 5 years. Your net worth crosses $250,000. Your money finally starts making money. In a good year, your portfolio generates $25,000 in compound growth. While you sleep, you aren't working for survival anymore. But this is where you hit something the motivational books never mention: the isolation. You're out at a bar. Your friends are complaining about gas prices, their boss, and their car loans. You sit there in silence, Because if you tell them your portfolio dropped by their entire annual salary yesterday and you didn't even blink, they won't understand. They'll resent you. The distance between you and them is widening, not because you're arrogant, but because you now live in two completely different financial realities. You turn down the group Vegas trip because you know you'll end up subsidizing the bill. You pass on a friend's genius business idea because you actually understand cash flow now. The rejections create friction. You start losing people without a fight. You choose the isolation because focus requires silence. It happens on a random Tuesday, no champagne, no fireworks. You refresh your brokerage app, and there it is, $1 million. You've hit the 2 comma club. You thought this moment would fix everything. You thought you'd feel this massive wave of freedom. You thought you'd finally exhale. Instead, it's just quiet, and almost immediately, the cold math hits you. It's not enough, not out of greed, out of logic. Based on the 4% rule, $1 million gives you about $40,000 a year to live on safely. That's not FU money. That's just basic stability. $1 million is no longer the finish line. It's just the proof of concept. But your mindset shifts permanently. Money is no longer a stressor. It's a resource, like time, like oxygen. You fire your financial advisor because you realize you understand index funds and tax loss harvesting better than he does. You buy your time back. You pay for convenience, not to flex, but to protect your mental bandwidth. You finally understand the difference between looking rich and being wealthy. People who want to look rich wear massive logos and lease depreciating liabilities. You wear a plain black t-shirt, but your portfolio generates their entire salary in a single quarter. 10 million. The texture of the game changes completely. You stop earning money. You start structuring it. This is the level where you learn the ultimate secret they hide from the 99%. You never sell your assets, ever. Say you have real estate or equities that grew by $5 million. If you sell, the IRS steps in. Capital gains tax, net investment income tax, state tax. You'll lose over $1 million instantly just for clicking sell. So what do the elites do? They call their private bank. They use their assets as collateral to take out a line of credit at a negotiated 3 or 4%. They get cold, hard cash to buy the yacht, the next business, or the real estate. Taxes on a loan, 0. And the original assets keep growing, easily outpacing the low interest rate of the loan. It's called buy, borrow, die. The tax code isn't a fixed rule book. It's a variable that reacts to your structure, and you've built the perfect architecture, but this level comes with a heavy tax of its own. Your name is now a target. Someone slips near your property, a $2 million lawsuit, a former partner gets greedy, a $5 million lawsuit. You have lawyers on retainer billing $800 an hour. You have security cameras covering every inch of your property. You don't trust new people anymore. Every handshake is scanned for a hidden motive. Your life is perfectly secure, but it feels an awful lot like a gilded cage. Hundreds of millions. You are no longer a person. You are a corporation. Your wealth is managed by a family office, a dedicated team of wealth managers, estate lawyers, CPAs, and cybersecurity experts whose only full-time job is managing your existence. You only fly private, not for the luxury, but because losing 3 hours in a commercial terminal costs you more than the jet fuel. You don't buy shares of Apple anymore. You buy entire companies. You deploy capital into private equity and venture funds. You aren't playing the market. The market reacts to you. But here is where the most terrifying psychological mutation happens. You lose the ability to be surprised. Remember the day you made your first $500 from a side hustle? Your heart raced. You felt alive. Now, your portfolio can swing by $3 million in a single Tuesday, and you feel absolutely nothing. The neural pathways that used to process the joy of money have been burned to ash by hedonic adaptation. When you can have anything you want, effortlessly, things lose their meaning. The only thing that matters now is legacy. You aren't thinking about your life anymore. You're building generation-skipping trusts so that your great-grandchildren, whom you will never meet, can't accidentally dismantle the empire you built. $1 billion. There are only a few thousand people on Earth at this altitude. You don't need money anymore. You need power, influence, and the ultimate control of time. You sit in a closed boardroom in Geneva, just 4 people, no laptops, no one is taking notes. You speak for exactly 6 minutes, and after that conversation, the economic policy of an entire region shifts. You don't lobby politicians. Politicians come to you because your capital underwrites the infrastructure of their districts. You no longer feel the human impact of your decisions. You close a manufacturing plant, laying off 2,000 people to optimize tax efficiency. You don't see their faces. You only see a 1.5% margin improvement on a quarterly report. The scale makes you ruthless, not because you're evil, but because at this altitude, human beings turn into statistics. You stand by the floor-to-ceiling window of your penthouse. The city moves far below you. You beat the game that everyone else is just trying to learn the rules to. You have absolute, unquestionable freedom, but you can't stop. Because if you stop, you'll have to face the quiet reality that outside of this game, there is almost nothing of you left. Right now, in a cheap, dark apartment, a 20-year-old kid is staring at his phone. His balance is $14.50. He opens a brokerage app. He thinks that if he just makes his first million, all his problems will disappear. He doesn't know what it's going to cost him. He doesn't know how the friendships will fade, how the joy of simple things will vanish, how the cold architecture of capital will eventually replace his humanity. The machine doesn't care. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It just needs new fuel. He hits the buy button. The cycle continues.